Welcome to Startup Wins. Twice a month, we share real stories and smart tips. Subscribe and join the journey.
SEO has been a critical part of the success of many of today's online brands, from Instagram to YouTube. For SEO experts, the IPO of SEMrush was probably no surprise. What's SEMrush? Well, it's the most used, well, at least the first or the second most used SEO tool or resource for professionals optimizing their organic search presences for their companies, i.e. Google, Bing. And people from SEOs to CMOs, the chief marketing officers, use it quite a bit, and sometimes even CEOs who may want to control everything. Today, we have the former vice president of digital marketing of SEMrush and currently CMO of Got Photo. So please welcome Olga Denisova. Did I pronounce that name correct?
Yes, you pronounced it perfectly.
Oh, really? Okay, I guess I'm lucky today. Not like yesterday, but anyway. Well, we're really excited to learn more about you, Olga, and hear some of the coolest things that you've done, in marketing and whatnot. And one thing that I'd like to share real quickly, and it might be nice for you too, is to help people understand what the show is all about. Since you are actually our inaugural guest, I don't know if you know.
I'm honored.
Well, we are very honored as well. So our show, Startup Wins, is hopefully going to be your favorite startup podcast moving forward. That's our goal, at least. It's primarily because as I didn't find a lot of value in the current startup podcasts, and I really wanted to share not only the most interesting guests in the startup world, but also to combine to give people great advice and tips and things like that. And so that's what we're going to probably talk about today, if that's okay.
I love it. Bias towards action. Love
Awesome.
it.
Well, let's start off right now with, who are you, Olga? I know that, we just recently met. I found what I saw on LinkedIn as amazing. So could you tell us a little bit more of who you are?
Yeah, of course. I'm a marketer. I've been doing marketing for basically my whole professional life, B2B specifically, SaaS specifically, and I got a chance to work in a unicorn company. I had grown together with them like from 1,000 employees to 5,000 employees and like 1 billion plus revenue. Then I got this vice president gig in SEMrush and went IPO together with them. So it was another amazing experience. And now I lead the marketing and a scale up. And all of that kind of enabled me to see marketing differently at different stages of company's development. And I think that's like one of the most exciting things that I can think of, like how marketing is differently, and it is fundamentally different for startup versus scale up versus enterprise. And this is, I think, one of the traps that startups usually fall into, trying to copying, this copying mechanism.
Right.
Oh, Uber did it. Oh, like Apple did it.
Right.
They try to replicate the same thing. And I think part of my like day-to-day mission is actually to prove that, hey, like startup marketing is so different from everything else. So yeah, so I got a chance to do it all.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, that's perfect, because obviously we're going to have potentially startup founders who are listening to the podcast. And so maybe we can definitely answer some things that maybe they have as far as problems are concerned. But could you start off with, you said scale up, right?
Yes.
And you talked about enterprise. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like you distinguished the three.
Yeah, no, 100%. So first, whenever I distinguish like startup versus scale up versus enterprise, it's not only about like the amount of years in the market or about the revenue, but it's about the company goal for this particular time period, right? To give an example, you may have been in the market for dozen of years and you may have really big revenue, but if you have this project which is about to enter the new or to establish a new niche, then you need to approach it as a startup versus the enterprise marketing, right? And vice versa. So, for example, I'm now a part of a company, again, which I refer to as a scale up. But hey, it's been in the market for more than 10 years. It's been profitable. It's scaled massively before. So I could refer to that as an established business. But the difference is we're now on a mission to conquer the global market and to grow exponentially, right? So in this regard, we're not an established company, but a scale up. So that's the main difference for me.
I don't think a lot of startup founders are probably thinking that far ahead. Sometimes they're just trying to survive. And so,
True. Yeah.
can I ask which one of the three do you find the most interesting or the most fun? And maybe, even though we call this startup wins, one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I titled that is because I think we focus a lot on the startup losses, and the
Yes.
problems and things like that. And, we should still probably talk about those because we're trying
Yeah.
to solve them, right? But which
Yeah.
one of those three did you like the most, or do you like the most?
Oh my God. It's like with your love life. Like it's really hard to pick the best. It's more like it's all different, right?
Mm,
And I would say, yeah, challenges are very different. And this is why I love and hate marketing because it's never the same.
mm,
And I'll be honest, like I always have a good laugh whenever I see this, playbook giveaways on LinkedIn about like, hey, if you want to generate like that much, just download my playbook. And I'm always repeating it like to everyone that I talk to is like, hey, there is no universal wisdom in marketing.
right,
And I mean, do you remember marketing 10 years ago? Like, do you remember, times when Dropbox launched this referral
right.
program and it just, it was like boom effect and they conquered the market? Do you think if you now launch a referral program, you're going to conquer the market? Of course not. So it just shows it's a perfect showcase that marketing is super different. Every single company is different. And this is what I love.
Hmm. Well, I put it in our notes for our conversation today because years ago, when I was getting my degree in college, my first intro to marketing class, I can't remember his name. I just remember he was a little annoying and I didn't really like him that much. But one thing I always remember to this day, though,
Yeah.
is defining what marketing is. And what
Yes.
he defined it as actually hit home. I was like, that's a really good definition. Like, I really appreciate it. And I'll share it here in a second. But before we do, can I ask what you think marketing is?
Yeah. So, like I shared with you prior to the recording, I was discussing it with my husband, and
Mm,
so the definition that we came up to, the way that we see marketing right now, and I underline it right now, it's empathy-driven science, and I can explain like both parts. So it used to be data-driven.
mm,
Just, I would say a year ago, if you asked me about marketing, I would say it's data-driven, again, science. And I would explain why, like, all data touch points and attribution model and like how great we can be at forecasting. But then AI came into the scene and showed that, hey, you can do that many forecasts and calculations, but there is one part which AI cannot do, and this is empathy.
mm,
Empathy that you can feel for your customer, empathy that you can have for your board, for your colleagues, for your team. And this is something that will never, or at least for the time being, will not be replaced with AI.
mm,
But there is still, again, this data science part, right? So you cannot only rely on empathy, right? So we are in marketing, we need to calculate ROI, we need to think about efficiency. So I still rely on the science part in my definition, but now I think again the empathy is so important,
mm.
especially because of AI. So yeah, so it's empathy driven science for me.
I love that. I love that. So just so you know what the definition he said was, marketing is basically how you connect with customers. It's just that connection.
Yep.
It's that, as basic as it is, how we do it. And as you said before, it's changed constantly, and it kind of depends on the company, and it depends on the situation sometimes and the time, right?
Yep.
So, but when you say empathy, that's probably the best way to connect, right? Because they empathize, right?
Yep.
Not necessarily sympathize, because sometimes that might make it like a
Yeah.
superior inferior kind of
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
same level. So I love that. That's a great way of just defining. And what's amazing is that you get to talk about it with your husband. I mean, how great is that? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, how many relationships want to talk about work after you get home, or maybe even start the
Oh,
day?
yeah.
That's amazing. He's not in the marketing field though, is he?
He's in business development.
Okay,
So,
similar.
yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, I did highlight at the beginning of the show that one of the reasons why Amazon succeeded, in my opinion, is their biz dev deals. And,
Yes.
and, and so not a lot of people have done case studies around it, but all the different people, because I used to sit right across from the biz dev team. And
Yeah.
if you pick all their names, literally there's some of the hugest names today. So they all had a really good savviness to them, I guess, and really expanded the market. Anyway, biz dev is critical. So you can pass that on to your husband.
Yeah. I sure will.
Another thing that, beyond defining, and you were kind of highlighting, empathizing, and then also the role of AI these days. Let's talk about that a little bit. Even though I don't
Yeah.
want to really go too deep in AI because everybody talks about it. Let me ask, like, how are you approaching AI, or how are you including it in your day to day? And, I forgot, we should dial back a little bit after talking about AI, because I would love to hear what you think are the biggest challenges for startups, and
Hmm.
what you've seen, and maybe some tips on how to solve them. But let's continue with the AI part. How are you? I'm looking at it right now. It says embracing
Yeah.
it.
Yes, embracing it. Okay. I actually had a very interesting conversation with my teams, and it will sound controversial. I said, I literally forbid any conversation that would start like, we have to implement AI, because what I hate about any conversation on AI or any brand new cutting edge technology is that it becomes so focused on the technology that we lose sight of the main part. And the main
Mm,
part is the customer,
mm,
pain points, and journey to the customer.
mm,
And so whenever we have any discussion, it's never about how can we implement AI,
mm,
but it's more about, okay, what's the root cause? What's the problem? Okay, we need to produce 10x more banners because we want to personalize things. Okay, obviously, yeah, the bandwidth of our designer is limited. So, okay, what can we do about it? We can automate, we can like use more templates, we can use AI for it. So you see, I deliberately like push the team to always think about the root cause first,
mm,
and then assess if it's going to be an AI tool that is going to be the solution, or probably it will be something else.
mm,
But I never ever want to have any conversation
mm.
which is about, this running in crazy loops, like, okay, we need to implement AI, like everyone's using AI.
Right.
Probably your solution is easier, because also what we tend to forget is, and I'm quite sure you experienced it, and many of our listeners experienced that. Like everyone talks about some feature, and then you go in AI, and you go and try it, and it's like half baked, and then you need to work on prompt, it's yada yada yada.
Right.
And probably your solution was way easier within your existing, CRM or any other tool. So I treat AI as any other tool, but obviously it can do crazy magical things, and I'm so happy that it's here.
No, completely. And that's great that you're doing that, because you're right. It could change tomorrow. It could be a more advanced version of AI, right?
Yep.
So staying focused on the main
Yeah.
parts, or the equation, I guess, definitely is
Yeah.
more helpful. Do you feel like what kind of triggered in my head while you're talking about
Yeah.
that, though, is, the tendency that people have these days regarding AI, which is to compete. We have to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Do you feel like CEOs, executives are constantly feeling that and then pressuring you as well because the market gets so
Yeah.
excited about it and how big it will be. It feels like it's everywhere right now. But do you feel like sometimes they do miss the point? Like they're sometimes a little too focused on what's
Yeah.
trendy, popular.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, some of us, yeah, fall into this trap. And I mean, again, I'm quite sure that I sometimes again fall into the same trap. Oh, there is this new shiny thing and probably going to fix all of my problems, and then it does.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, shoot, I need to figure it out myself again. But I think the main point is for us as a marketer specifically, but also again for founders, whenever you develop anything, whether it's again a product or a marketing strategy, it consists of two parts, right? So the first part is obviously, yeah, your product and your offering and, as a list of objective factors that you can particularly influence. But then there is the part about the context. And so whenever we talk about AI, of course, we cannot completely disregard this because, again, the whole market is speaking about this. So you need to address that. So to your point, yes, founders sometimes have to speak about AI, but not because, again, they believe that, okay, it's going to be a magical fix to everything, but just because they are expected to think about it, to talk about it from the market. But then it's up to the founder how they're going to implement this AA part to their product. So is it going to be, again, their competitive differentiator, or whether probably they are going to use it other way around? I'll give you an example. Like whenever you call support, do you want to be treated by a human being, or do
Right.
you want to be answered by an
Chatbot.
okay? So you would prefer a real human being.
Personally, I would definitely.
Exactly. The same for me, right? And so it means that you can still speak about AI, let's say within your product offering or within your marketing offering, but you can play the AI topic differently. So, and this is also what I talked on my LinkedIn, right? So I truly believe that very soon, and actually it's already happening right now, AI is not a fancy thing anymore. It's more like a commodity, and even more, sometimes it's something that turn you against the brand because you can play the AI topic differently. Instead of everyone says, hey, we are AI driven, we are AI driven, you can say, we are probably the last company that take your matters to the heart. We are human beings, so there is always be a real life, real human being assigned to you to deal with you. On separate line, you will always have, again, a real person answering you. So you still function within the market context, but you play differently. Does it make sense?
100%, 100%. Because I mean, when you think about it, we can roll back time a little bit. And when Google became more ubiquitous, or Microsoft before that, when customer service started to be taken over in a way where it was all online and forums or whatever the case may be, it's like you lost that ability to ask questions directly, right? And
Yeah.
it personally for me, became very, very frustrating because you couldn't do like the old school 1-800 number where you'd reach a customer service person, and
Yeah.
now it's even more artificial, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree 100%. Let's go back to that question about the challenges and maybe
Yes.
some solutions that you had. Maybe let's just talk about startups first.
Yep.
What are some of the main marketing challenges you think startups? I know it's a very general question. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Obviously, yeah, it's the question of setting your priorities because you need to do everything at once, and very often it's like you are constrained on budget, you are constrained on people, on time. So basically, yeah, you are limited in so many ways. Yeah, it's about setting your priorities straight, being almost like ruthless about like what you gotta do and what you should not do. But also, I think the biggest trap, the biggest challenge for startups is, again, to think, to find their new way of how they need to do things.
Mm,
Because again, I see so many startups trying to replicate the best practices of bigger companies
mm,
and failing.
mm.
So if we talk about the actions, right? So you said, okay, Olga, how can we make it practical, right?
Sure, sure.
What actions should we take? I think the answer to any challenge that startup is facing is experimentation.
Mm,
But it's not the experiment to actually understand what works, what doesn't, but also it's the experiment in general, like where to invest, right?
mm,
So your budget is very limited. Instead of, focusing on one channel and like throwing all of your money in one channel. And I know that this is a very popular recommendation, like, hey, like rely on one channel and make it work for you. I would actually advise against that and instead literally try out every single possible channel that you can think of. And then based on these multiple experiments, understand where you need to invest the majority of your funds. So yeah, experimentation, I would say, will be the main answer here.
yeah. I like that answer. To be honest, it's very relevant. I mean, currently in my role right now, I'm breaking out SEO, SEM, email, social, all the different channels that we've known
Yeah,
historically. And, I'm listing them. But like you said, we're limited on time. And so within an 8-hour day or whatever period, I mean, it feels like 16-hour days for me lately, but it's like you can only do SEO or you can only do social, or you can set
yeah,
up social maybe to deliver later,
yeah.
or email to set up to deliver later, but still you got to do the work unless you're relying on AI and being very artificial, right? And,
Yes.
and but we don't know what's working. Even though the company that I'm helping, he spent, I can't even tell you how much money, like, how much he's already put into the startup, and then still not getting what traction he wants.
Yeah.
And so he's very thankful I'm joining the team, and, and hopefully going to get him to that next level. But even with my success, I mean, I've helped some companies like sell for like $500 million, but that was lucky in my opinion, or
Yeah.
in other situations, we won't go into all those details, but the point is that I love your answer, because I think you're right. Startups shouldn't necessarily just focus on one channel per se, because we don't know if that channel is going to work, right?
Yep. And yeah, again, if it worked for someone, does not mean that, yeah, it is going to work for you. So you need to test.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, I think you may have experienced this, like with virality, like what goes
Yes.
viral. It's funny because, like you said earlier, there's not one formula for virality. To be honest, a lot of them accidentally made it viral, right?
Yes.
So, like, what was that lady who made that comment? That's very, I don't know, oriented, but yeah, she just accidentally got famous, and then she accidentally did a few different things. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, I love that answer. Okay, so now let's say you progress from startup to the next level. You say scale
Yeah.
up, correct? So in scale up, what do you do? Or what kind of problems did you see or see with
Yeah.
scale up?
Yeah. The biggest trap for scale ups is basically trying to work the same manner like they used to in startup, meaning no structure, no system, all running, trying all of things, but just 2, 3 times more.
Hmm.
So it results in chaos.
Hmm.
And the usual, dilemma of a scale up is like, okay, we did like XYZ, and then okay, we just multiply it by 2, and then we get more results. But that's the thing, you cannot just, do more
Hmm.
and succeed. No. So this is where I would say the first a systematic approach comes into play, right?
Hmm.
So you try to actually, get to the to do some analysis and trying to understand, okay, what are my main growth engines? How can I actually build processes around them? And yeah, so the first thing the scale up needs to do is, yeah, to pause, take a step back
Hmm.
and analyze and try to build a system,
Hmm.
try to build a process.
Hmm.
And only after that you need to scale, because otherwise you're going to end up with ton of very random things,
Mm.
content items, channel activities, without even realizing what works and what doesn't.
Do you feel though during the scale up process,
Yeah,
because I would argue sometimes that's during the IPO path, right? Because they're trying
yeah.
to get to IPO, they almost prevent you from being able to create those processes and systematize things because they're so stressed out about doing things.
Yeah. Yes, yes. No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, because hey, the mission of a scale up is like to grow no matter what,
Yeah.
right? So that hence the name
Yeah.
scale up.
Right.
Uh, yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you're building the plane that you're flying at the same time, but that's the thing. Like you need to figure it out on the go.
Okay.
Because like once you hit the IPO, then you'll need to report on the numbers. And again, you cannot scale smartly and efficiently if you don't have the system behind it. So and that's why like so many startups are not able to actually get into the scale up mode because it's really hard, to build something while you're running so fast.
Well, you're currently working at a photo company that I'd love to talk a little bit more about here in a
Yeah,
second. I don't know about it because I haven't heard of it until I met you, but I was very familiar with your previous company, right? Because I use it all the time, and
yeah,
so do my peers. And I love the product so much so that I can even say it. I love it better than Ahrefs. The Ahrefs people probably who are listening right now are probably like, okay, screw you, no more startup wins. But in all seriousness, it's just I've always felt more comfortable with SEMrush. But that begs the question, I guess, when you chose your role as
yeah,
the kind of the chief marketing capacity in each of these different companies, I imagine it's because you also took the role because you liked the product or the company, right? Or maybe the leadership. So when it comes to scale up, the J curve or whatever it's called, I wonder if you can do that if you have a shitty product, right? Because if you have a shitty product, you can't, I mean, you're pushing really hard, the boulder really hard up, right?
yeah.
And so sometimes I wonder if you have to take a step back and make your product good in some situations. And so can I ask, I mean, I don't know if that's a question as much, but
Yeah.
would you agree? I mean,
Actually, yes. Yes. I know that there is a saying that, hey, you better be first than perfect.
mm,
But at the same time, I also remember the wisdom from one of the founders of my previous companies, and he used to say that to really succeed, you need to be in the right moment, in the right market, with a stellar product.
mm,
Because yeah, I mean, no matter how great your marketing is,
mm.
I mean, if users are disappointed with your product, yeah, of course you can do some, some
Right,
retention tricks, but at the end of the day, I mean, you won't be able to deceive, users. And because at the end of the day, like budgets are limited, paid budgets are limited, no matter how much funds you raised, your funds are limited.
right.
And to really succeed, you need to work on this word of mouth,
Mm,
on this organic growth.
yes,
And if you don't have this organic growth, then probably you're doomed.
right, right. Paid can only do so much.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yep.
Okay, well, we've hit that part of the maturity of the business. What about enterprise? So you're now at enterprise, am I
Yeah.
correct? Would you call it enterprise?
I would still call it a scale up. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it,
No.
got it.
Yeah.
But do
Yeah.
you have any opinions on enterprise though? Once you get there?
Yeah, no, I do 100%. And yeah, one of my previous experiences, yeah, it was like, yeah, how do you go from mid-market to enterprise? And I would say, yeah, enterprise is tricky, right? Enterprise is like heaven gone wrong.
Okay.
Because I mean, everyone works to arrive there, right? So to have like the market dominance, budgets,
Mm,
the connections of
mm,
enterprise, but then
mm,
all of a sudden, when you are there, you realize, oh, this is not exactly what I worked for, right?
mhm,
Because yeah, you're so slow, like endless amount of meetings. You're not able like to experiment anymore. There is always, this political element to that, and just,
Right.
letting all the multiple stakeholders, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, so am I doing presentations only, or am I actually doing actual work? And so I think that's the main trap for enterprise, right? So don't let meetings kill it all. And I think, yeah, the way that you can approach enterprise marketing, and this is what I did in one of my previous jobs, is basically you break down this hell of a machine into certain projects, and it gives them, it gives it some, startup flavor,
Mm.
because all of a sudden, okay, you're limited in the amount of people involved, but also like you're able to innovate. And there is one other thing,
Mm.
and it actually can be applied not only to enterprise, but to scale up as well. Make sure to assign a separate experimentation budget,
Mm.
because one of the pitfalls of enterprise marketing is you spend like half a year getting your budgets approved, and then you see something like some new channel taking off, but guess what? You don't have it in your plan because half a year ago there was no such channel. And
Mm.
then that's why, enterprise marketing is usually very slow, because okay, now I need to have this, 20 people committee
Mm.
to get my budget approved for this brand new channel, but I
Mm.
cannot like share anything yet. So they're very slow in decision making. And what I used to do, I would usually allocate totally separate budget for experiments only. So this way you avoid this endless approval loops, and your team feels empowered to actually go and test straight away. So it usually speeds up a lot of things in enterprise.
No, that's great. That's great. I've had the fortune of working at several enterprise, Expedia, Amazon. Amazon was more a scale up at the time that I was there, but Expedia probably would be more enterprise at that time.
Yeah.
And it was a very interesting, and I always have these theories. I have yet to work at Google, even though I interviewed with them like 3 or 4 times, and I've yet to work at Microsoft, even though it was my backyard. But I've always seen the output and the problems that would occur in the end, right? Like, for example, Bing taking so long to finally get some
Yes.
market share, right? And
Yeah.
even with the market share, the product still, I'm sorry, I've got to just admit, it is just still crap in my mind. Like, it's very, very seldom that we go to Bing to actually search for something.
Yeah.
But the point here is my peers, my friends have all been there, and I talk to them on a regular basis. And the maturity, if I can call it maturity, maybe it's politics, I'm not sure. It seems like it slows down so much, and the innovation is so weak, and
Yeah.
it almost. I mean, I almost want to reach out to Sundar, the Google's CEO, and just say, hey,
Yeah.
I know you're trying to catch up with the AI game right now, but if you had done a couple other things,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Organizationally wise,
yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah,
stop
yeah.
picking all those Stanford grads and Harvard
Yes.
grads because
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to fit pegs in holes. And
Yeah.
so, and that's why, to be honest, I did an education podcast, is because I feel like our education system in general is still quite weak, and
Yeah.
in almost every country. But there's stars like yourself, and there's people who do rise and find their way, and fortunately we have the internet. But yeah, the enterprise world is a very interesting one, and it makes me sad sometimes.
Yes, no, it does. Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why I lean towards, startup slash scale up
Mm.
community. It just feels that, yeah, you're actually able to make any impact, some
Mm.
impact,
Mm.
while in enterprise, sometimes you wonder, like, okay, if I'm making any impact,
Mm.
like, or am I doing, just another presentation? So, yeah.
I loved your advice on both startups and scale ups, but are there any other things that you could say in your rich career that you would love to pass on to other CMOs or other CEOs? Things that you found like, okay, shit, I wish I would have learned this or known this many years ago. Are there any things like that?
Yeah. I remember when I was working in startups or again scaling marketing teams, I would always have this feeling that there must be someone who knows it for sure,
Mm.
right? Given
Mm.
their experience, given their paycheck
Right.
and diploma from Ivy League or whatever. And the more I worked, the more I realized that actually no, you can, again, you can never listen to some best practice, replicate it, and then have any decent result. The thing is that you always need to come up with your own best practices.
Mm.
You need to invent your own playbook. And some of listeners, I'm quite sure, may argue like, okay, Olga, but we're now listening to you, like, and you are sharing your advice,
Right.
right? Like, okay, so thank you very much. Bye bye. But but the thing is, whenever you listen again to anyone, it's less about like very specific action and more about the way that they think and
Mm.
the way that they approach certain problems. And I would say that was, my revelation. The more again I talk to like stellar marketers around, they listen very carefully. They try to understand everyone's mindset. They try to again to replicate probably the way of thinking, but not a particular best practice.
Mm.
So that's one of the main things. But also the second thing is, hey, even your own best practices, they get expired very soon.
Mm.
So I have like 20 pages of LinkedIn posts that I didn't get a chance to publish. And I'm never going to publish them because some of them are like 6 months old and they're outdated already. So I think the hardest thing for a marketing professional is actually to ignore your past experience.
Mm.
You need to reinvent your own best practices.
Yeah.
First, you
Yeah.
invent them,
Yeah.
but then half a year later, you reinvent them again. Because, yeah, it's just markets are changing too quickly to stick to any playbook.
Speaking of your LinkedIn posts, I did want to ask, you have several that are quite popular on LinkedIn, and obviously not every post is going to catch on fire, but do you have any that you would like to share with the listeners, like you should go read this one, or because personally for me, and forgive me for saying this, but sometimes the vanity metrics aren't what I care about, because
Yeah,
it's great you have 2,000 likes or you have 800 comments or whatever the case may be. And I think the comments are more important because it means they're engaging, right?
yeah.
But sometimes I just want to read someone's post that nobody ever found because it's a secret, that no one's reading it. And here I'm telling you to tell me which ones
Yeah.
to. but
Yeah. Yeah, I won't be cruel to our listeners, so I won't mention anything like from too much time ago. But yeah, if you can just open my LinkedIn, one of my recent posts was actually about the difference of marketing at different stages of company's development. So how should you approach your marketing game if you're a startup or a scale up or an enterprise company? Again, there is no universal wisdom, and it's not like the recipe, okay, turn on the ads here and turn off your social there, but it's more about, again, how to approach some basic principles, which are actually very different across different stages.
Another aspect of your posts, because they are quite popular. I mean, you have some really, really popular ones as well. And maybe even, I'm being selfish to ask, but I mean, again, I don't really care as much. But do you have any tips, or did you find the evolution of your posting and your personal branding to, like, there were certain things that you did, people always talk about authenticity or things like
Yeah.
that, but sometimes people are just really freaking smart and they provide a lot of value, right? So that's why everybody's liking it and engaging.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe there are some tips and tricks or whatnot. Again, I'm not really into that, but just out of curiosity, was there any learnings in that whole process of when nobody knew you and then all of a sudden you have
Yeah.
so much popularity?
Yeah, no, 100%. So it was quite a journey. I would say the hardest part, but also the most rewarding part was opening up as a person, again, as a human being, because I remember I was like, okay, I need to be like professional. I need to share again what I learned here. I need to bring value. And by value, I meant marketing or again, management or leadership, everything very much work focused, professional focused content. But then at some point, I was just, sharing my personal thoughts on career, on leadership, on pitfalls, on drawbacks, on my, lessons, failures, and just, being very, I would say, plain and common,
Mm,
and not trying to, to paint a big picture of myself. And people all of a sudden appreciated this
mm,
part so much.
mm.
And I was like, oh, this is the personal part in the way, like, like personal branding. And
Mm,
everyone's like, okay, personal branding, got it. I want to be seen as one, two, three. No, like actually being yourself. And it was honestly a revelation to me because I mean, I'm introverted.
mm.
And actually, it was like first of my most viral posts
Okay.
ever. I just share like, hey, I'm an introvert,
Mm,
and it's really freaking hard to be an introverted leader,
mm.
given how many meetings you have to do to make, given like how many, daily interactions. And sometimes I just want, to close in my bathroom and just, sit in
Sure.
silence. But at the same time, I developed my extroverted part,
Mm.
and I'm eager to hop on a call with you. So,
Right.
and so I shared like very candidly like my struggles
Mm.
and my lessons as an introverted leader. And all of a sudden, everyone was like, "Thank you very much. I'm also an introverted leader. So thank you for bringing voice to our part."
So,
So yeah, just be yourself.
so you are you telling me that people haven't been like reaching out to you on a regular basis to have you on their podcasts? Is that not happening? Because I'm surprised if they're not asking all the time.
Yeah, no, now they are. Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, yeah. So now they do reach out, but again, like a year ago or
Mm.
probably more, I was like very much, to myself, I would
Okay.
say. And
Okay.
again, I think another main conclusion is just stop doubting yourself
Mm.
and just freaking post it, you know? So yeah, probably again you expect, some great advice,
Mm.
but again, my whole experience was just, go with your gut feeling, like, and post it
And it
and
took
be
time
yourself.
though, right? I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
overnight. Okay.
Oh no, 100%. Yep.
Yeah. So anybody out there who wants to become LinkedIn famous, it's a long road, right? It's not a short path.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, yeah, since we're on the topic, probably last point, experiment. So
Mm,
I remember that I would do, types of posts that I saw no one doing.
mm,
So for example, like before we knew like how LinkedIn algo works. I
mm,
remember I was doing A/B tests with my posts. I would say,
mm.
okay, everyone wonders whether it's a picture versus text post
Right.
that performs better. So I'm
Right.
going to do an A/B test, like put a like if you see an image or put a like if you see a text post. And all of a sudden, yeah, these A/B tests, loosely performed A/B tests, got also kind of viral because everyone was like, "Oh, there is a live test like right in front of us, so I want to follow this person." So yeah, do all types of experiments. If everyone does, I don't know, PDF carousels, do something else, and you'll see how it works.
Now people will probably go to your LinkedIn profile and check out what's doing well. No, they'll be able
Yeah, yeah,
to.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I know we started off by mentioning that we want to keep within the hour, and I think it's
Yes.
always a good thing because people probably are always like, God, these people talk for so much, but
Yeah.
there. To be honest, I've enjoyed the conversation so much. I'm sure we could talk forever. But one thing I'm going to continue doing with my other podcasts and this podcast is I ask three questions, standard
Yeah.
questions, and they're called the three Qs. I believe that's what I
Yeah.
call them. They're kind of generic, but at the same time, I feel like they highlight some really interesting things about you or our guests. So my first question is, who's your hero?
I would say mothers. I just became a mother 11
Congratulations.
months ago.
Mm,
Thank you very much. And all of a sudden, I just realized that we do not give enough light and give enough appreciation to mothers, like, for the energy that they bring to this world.
mm,
And this is the energy of, again, empathy, compassion, extreme attention to others and not yourselves.
Mm.
And I think, I mean, if we pay a bit more attention to this type of behavior,
Mm.
and if we exercise a little bit more of this type of behavior, I think it's going to be a totally different world.
Mm.
And I mean, being a mother, becoming a mother, I truly believe also made me slightly better leader
Mm.
because again, there is just so much more attention towards others
Mm.
versus me, but also the realization that whatever I experience from my team or from my colleagues, partners, the board, whomever, it's actually the counteraction to my actions.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, probably everyone knows that, but for me it was like, wow.
It hit
So
home.
I learned a lot from my baby
Mm.
and being a mother, and mothers are just heroes for
No, they
me.
are. They are. I have to talk to my own here shortly. So, and I've been talking to her every day for the past week, but more on that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Well, as I get older, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, when I was younger, we had a lot of battles, and
Of course.
right.
Yeah.
And funny enough, even on a recent trip back home to Seattle, we were still battling, but we have a different type of battle.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
where we respect each other, and
Wow.
even if we cry or whatever it
Yeah.
is, by the end we're still talking, and we're not not talking, which has
Yeah.
happened a couple of times when I was younger. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in the process of trying to buy something together, and I'm talking to her every day. The other thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to encourage her to actually go and get her college degree. She's currently working on her GED because
Mm.
they retired. Funny thing about her is that she's like a 4-time startup founder, kind of almost the same thing. Like, she had 4
No
businesses.
way.
Yeah, and she killed them all, and she doesn't even, she doesn't brag about it or anything. It's just that's her life, right? But
Wow.
I didn't even think about it in that same vein. But I mean, her ARR was more than most startups, and so it always blows my mind away. But she's so humble, and she's always been about trying to take care of people. But at the same time, she's very, very tough. She's tough as nails, and so she's kind of scary in a lot of respects,
That's
and
a good picture. I can
yeah.
imagine it.
I would love to know more about your mom, but it
Yeah.
just she's a very interesting person, let's just say. So she's hard to teach.
Oh,
So
okay.
she's
She
very,
has her view. Yeah, okay.
yes, very frustrating when you try to teach her anything, because
Oh, yeah.
she's like, next, what's your point? Come on, hurry up. And it's like, I'm trying to teach you. Can you just,
Yeah, yeah.
so anyway, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
mothers are the most
Yeah,
amazing souls on our planet. So I love that
yeah.
answer. How about role models would be my second question. Who should we emulate? I mean, obviously we could say mothers, but any other folks that, we should emulate or
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest. I had trouble thinking about it, and I'll explain why.
Hmm.
I used to have some of IT leaders as role models without
Hmm.
dropping any names, but some of the recent events were like, I don't want to have these people as my role models anymore, you know? And I'm now, I would say, I just decided, yeah, probably not to have idols anymore.
Hmm.
Um, because yeah, right now, honestly, yeah, I'm just with all the craziness in the world, I'm honestly, I'm struggling to
Hmm.
find a role model because yeah, just people do weird stuff, and I'm like, I'm appalled some of the things that they do.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, sorry, I really have troubles
No, I,
finding
I,
a role model these days.
I would rather you say honestly what you feel. And that's the other thing about these questions. They're not about having a distinct or an absolute answer, or whatever you want to call it. It's actually how you think. I think that, I mean, if anybody's listening to you right now or watching you, I think your answer, you know, if you said fathers or whatever, how you said it and why you said fathers or mothers, I think is more important than, at least to me. So I actually appreciate your answer. Last one's an easy one. So
Yeah.
you don't have to think too hard, hopefully.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Yeah, like I will sell my soul for pastry.
Then you should
And
not go to Asia or like Korea
oh
or
God, I've been to Asia and I'm cursed. Yeah, it's now really it's my curse. I love to cook it. I love to eat it, like all different types, and it's not too healthy. And I swore to myself that I will not cook pastry to my son so that he doesn't develop the same addiction. But I'm failing.
Mm. Well, you got to have some pleasure or
Yeah,
a little sin or
yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
So that's
My
fine.
guilty pleasure all the way.
Well, awesome. Thank you for those great answers. So we've come to the end, unfortunately for me, and I really appreciate your time. But before we finish today, so how can people reach out to you? I mean, is LinkedIn the best way, or and
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
okay. And then also, we didn't get to talk about it too much, but maybe your elevator pitch for your current role or the company. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the company?
Yeah, no, 100%. To those who do not work in the photography industry, the best way to describe good photo is basically good photo is Shopify, but for photographers. And
Oh.
yeah, the photography profession, like the profession of a photographer, I would say is really cruel,
Hmm.
given the amount of tasks that you need to execute only for one shoot. Like, you need to organize things, you need to print out files, you need to do again the shooting itself. So there is a lot of petty tasks that
Hmm.
are not visible at all, but at the same time which consume so much time from your day. And basically good photo just helps you, automate everything and make the most out of your creative work. And that's, I think, the
Hmm.
best part of it. So we actually, I would say we bring dignity to the job of photographer, because you can focus on the creative stuff, not the petty stuff. So that's the gist.
Yeah, that's great. One of my best friends is a wedding photographer,
Oh, okay.
and
Share the link.
yeah, and we talk about this time suck that he spends on editing and
Exactly.
all the whole process, and even marketing is a pain in the butt
Yeah,
for him, right? I helped him get to number one, and then over the years I haven't touched it as much, but it's just, yeah, it's hard for him to almost survive sometimes. So that's great to hear
exactly.
that you guys are there to help. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. This was absolutely amazing. I really appreciate your time. It was perfect in so many different ways. Hopefully we'll get to talk again sometime soon. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
If your calendar isn't already set, you're missing out on startup wins. Industry leaders, top advisors, and incredible tips await. Come back for future great episodes and entertaining guests, and come back for more insider strategies and incredible stories from the brightest VCs, founders, and operator experts. We're bringing you the best in the business twice a month. Hit that bell and stay winning with Startup Wins. See you soon.